Hey everyone, my name is Matt. I have one of these things, which seems to be the internet's biggest controversy right now. So I was able to get one of these a couple days ahead of time because I do own a hobby shop, and these came in today. This is the Tuesday before release, and I want to just talk about it, go through it. Uh, I do want to preface this video with that I do own a hobby shop, and I do make a good portion of my living off Traxxas products. So while my review might be biased as pro Traxxas, I'm going to try to look at this at a point of view as somebody who was drifting TTO ones and was super excited when counter steer cars came out, and who's been drifting real cars and going to various tracks for the last 10 years, and just as somebody who's super into drifting. And really, I've been trying to get Traxxas to make one of these things for like the last 6 years or so. So I'm really excited that it came out, and I just kind of want to go through it and maybe address some of the things that I see pop up on all the forum pages and Facebook groups and whatever constantly. So I have a whole bunch of RC drift cars, and we're going to compare this to a couple different things. And also, not a YouTuber. This is my house. This is where I live. This is my basement. I don't have a professional RC drift track handy. I basically roll back my carpet here and move all the stuff out of the way. And we're going to make a little makeshift track. And I'm going to run the 4-tec, and I'm going to run some MST cars and compare some of the stuff with it. So I need to clean off the mess of my RC work table, and then we're going to take some shots of this and kind of go through the steering angle and the app and everything about the design. So let's get to it. All right, so first things first, the body. I think this is probably the coolest part about the whole car is the aesthetics of it. So personally, I'm not a big Ford guy, but they really, really nailed this shell. Talk about the elephant in the room first. It doesn't have light buckets. That's your negative. Otherwise, it's awesome. So unlike the MST cars, we have two RMX 2.5 RTRs here. So this one, when we mounted the body, we did the Velcro stealth body mounts. And this one, these are both owned by friends of mine. My friend Sean didn't care about getting Velcro mounts, and we just put the body post through. So obviously, when you're comparing body post to not, the clipless looks super awesome. If you were to get an RMX and you wanted the clipless look, you do have to get a stealth body mount. Not that it's very expensive, but it is an additional thing you need to do. The wheels and tires on this are super cool. They are staggered and offset, so these are wider and deeper dish than the fronts. The body does come pre-assembled. With the MSTs, you do have to put on usually the wing mirrors. We didn't put them on this one, and we didn't put on the wing on this one, but you got the wing and the mirrors on this one. So there is some assembly required with the MST one, where the Traxxas one comes out of the box just as it is. So since it is clipless, these vents are a hard plastic, and the wing in the back here is a hard plastic. And these will, there's a clip in the front and a clip in the back. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Let me switch. The clip in the back. So that's what'll take the body off. But it looks super, super cool. Really cool detail. The diffuser in the back is a hard plastic. There's your clipless system. You got your clipless up in the front, which goes to the hood vents and to the front. Oops, almost dropped it. It's like your front splitter. So body, super, super awesome. Did a really, really nice job with it. I just wish it had light buckets. That is the only complaint. I'm putting it side by side to the MST one. They're both pretty awesome, but I think I'm going to hand it to Traxxas on this one. It's just good looking. The wide body is really cool. You know, the hood vents and everything on this are cool. I also like that the windows are clear. So these are like tinted windows, and you can obviously see through it, where these are just stickers. So, I mean, if I'm going to paint a body, I'd rather have clear windows on it. But as an RTR, who really cares? Also with the MSTs, you get random wheels. At least with this, you know what you're going to get. Luckily, my two friends got some nice looking wheels. The last one I got chartreuse 6 spokes, which was like really ugly. So I don't know. It's kind of cool that it's a gamble as to what you're going to get, but I would much prefer to have a guarantee of having really cool wheels on this. So let's get the bodies off. Let's compare some steering angle and some other things to them. But yeah, body's cool. So steering angle seems to be the biggest thing talked about. And yeah, the MST obviously has a lot more. So with the MST car, at least your leading wheel is getting almost 90 degrees. Your trailing wheel, not quite as much, but it definitely has way better steering angle than the Traxxas one does. So there's obviously still a good little bit of room here where between the chassis. So I'm sure at some point there will be some other sort of knuckle design that I'm sure someone's going to come out with that will get the steering angle on this upgraded to 90 degrees. I've had customers take regular 4-tec 2.0s in the past and try to make drift cars out of them. And with the regular 4-tec steering, you're getting maybe like that far. So for what it is, it's not too bad. From a professional standpoint, yeah, that is, of course, better right out of the box. Obviously, the MST chassis was designed specifically for drifting. This is a drift car, period. This is a Traxxas 4-tec that they have modified to be a drift car. So, yes, your steering angle. Although, I feel like it's more than the 60 degrees they advertised out of the box. Still not quite this. Also, as far as suspension goes, they have definitely redesigned the springs on here. So the MST is a little bit softer than the Traxxas, but the springs are nice and supple on here, which I like. The back's a little stiff compared to the MST, but this, like, so this car has been completely unmodified. We just ran it. The back kind of, like, without much effort, definitely just, like, hits the ground. With the same force, you're not hitting the ground on this. So actually, I've run this a bunch on asphalt today, and I haven't scraped the chassis once. So the shocks definitely have the ability to be adjusted. Might be able to go a little bit softer if you're running on P-tile or something like that. You know, it's got adjustments. Also, where the way the shocks are distanced in the front, these are a little bit farther in. So your wheel is really pretty far away from it. So you can kind of almost touch the shock here, where eventually when they do come out with some steering angle components for this, I think that's going to be good. Also, Traxxas has a lot of play usually in their cars. You get about that much play without moving the actual steering servo. It's about the same. So you're playing the steering. If anything, actually, the MST might be a little bit worse. Yeah, MST is actually worse on play on the steering. Traxxas is known, at least with the regular 4-tec, that the control arms and stuff will kind of move forward and back a little bit. And sometimes when you crash, you'll like lose drive shafts. But let's see. Yeah, definitely stiffer on the MST. There's no forward to back play on this. These arms are really stiff. So definitely more play up here. I don't know if that's going to be that much of an issue, but I'm sure we could probably switch them out to aluminum control arms or something else in the future. GPM also has that nice little system that kind of triangulates the whole thing. I don't know if that would add too much drag on the suspension in terms of drifting. On a road car, it doesn't really matter, but I'd have to try it and see if it binds up the suspension at all with having the springs be so soft. So I would like to see this be a little bit less play. If they like redesign the control arms to be a little bit stiffer, that would be cool. But overall, not really a problem there. One of my, I guess, complaints sort of with the MST cars is the factory gyros. I don't think they come with these anymore. I think they come with a different one. I think this is a 2.5. It might be a 2.025. Honestly, I forget. My bad. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. But the RMX gyro is okay. Most of my friends who have these, we have two here. I think between my friend group, I think we have 5 or 6 of them. Most of them have switched out this gyro to Yokomo V4. And usually, since most of my friends have some sort of RC experience already, they'll hook these up to their Spectrum controllers, and they'll be able to program the Yokomo gyro through their controller really nicely, and I feel like it makes the car handle much better. The Traxxas one doesn't have a separate gyro. It's built into the TSM that's already in the receiver box. So where you have a separate unit up here, apart from your receiver, your servo, whatever else. This is a little more contained. I'm going to try to, obviously I'm filming this on my phone. I'm going to see if I can get my old phone out and get the app downloaded so I can show you how the app works. It's actually really pretty cool. It's a little bit of a different experience than tuning one of these. The app will have 3 different settings, and whilst the Traxxas like suggested setting is a little bit harder for me to drive because it'll actually dull the power down as well as kind of do your gyro steering to keep the car in check, I think might be really good for a novice having lots of RC experience. I was having a hard time with it, but that's because that's not really what I'm used to. So that's pretty much all that. This video is going to be super long, and I'm kind of sorry. Just trying to go through everything. So that's compared to this. I want to compare this to one other car, so let me grab that one. All right, so a lot of people were also saying that this is an antiquated chassis design, and whilst, yeah, it is, it's not like nobody makes it. So this is a R31 House GRK Global 2. Pretty sure it's a 2, which is basically the exact same layout. So this may or may not be a great example because these cars are, you can get them rear-wheel drive or make them a counter steer and put the drive shaft down the center. So as a rear-wheel drive car, they work great. I've never driven this one as a counter steer car. Not that that really matters. But with this setup, you're still getting your definitely better steering angle. I don't know if this is quite as good as the, yeah, it's about the same as the RMX. But definitely still better steering angle on this one. But as far as the chassis design goes, with, you know, the motor facing longitudinal off-center, this car performs pretty great. It's not my best performing car, but I do enjoy driving it. So this is set up with a Yoke V4 gyro. It's got a Yokomo servo in it, and it's just got a quick run, and I think a 10.5 brushless on here. So pretty basic setup, not too crazy. It's got a lot of nice carbon fiber and aluminum stuff on it. It's got these really cool rear control arms where you can adjust the toe in and out, which is cool. It'd be awesome to see like adjustable toe arms for this. Would be cool. These are obviously fixed in place. They also have this adjustable like link position was actually originally for the Ford GT because the body sank down so much that it would hit the top link. So they have a second point here. I've also seen people put a second link to try to stiffen this up, which might actually help. This is completely unmodified out of the box, just with like 15 minutes of runtime out of it. But, you know, this design does still exist. You can still get stuff like this. You know, this car's not brand new per se, but it's a really, really great car in my opinion, and it's laid out the same way as this one. So, you know, $329 car, not quite a $329 car. So to take that one step further, this is my favorite chassis. So this is my MST RMX 2.0 KMW. It's a mouthful. So obviously these are completely in different leagues of their own. This is a $300 car. This chassis was $1,000. So granted, I don't have the crazy electronics in here. I do have the Yokomo V4. I got a Hobby Wing XR10, 10.5, maybe an 8.5 motor in here. It's no boost, nothing too crazy. I mostly am, you know, playing in friends' garages in my house. So I'm not going on a racetrack to do P-tile that often. There's a track about 2 hours from here. We go like once a year. It's a bit of a ride to get down to actually see a professional track and get to play on it all day. So I would 100% of the time, of course, prefer to drive this thing. This is my favorite. But we're looking at two completely different things. And I feel like one of the problems that I'm seeing on all the Facebook pages is everybody who's criticizing this owns all of these types of things. So if you have this, yeah, there's no reason to buy this. That doesn't make any sense. But I'm not going to let my friends drive this car. This is going to stay, you know, in my possession with my, you know, my DX6R, you know, nice touchscreen radio and all my cool stuff. Like, this is mine to drive. However, if my girlfriend is like, hey, that's really cool, can I get a hand at it? Or, you know, your 12-year-old nephew or whatever else. Yeah, take this. Go smash into whatever you want. Parts are going to be super accessible, super cheap. And, you know, whatever. It's going to be fun. So it's still hobby grade. You know, a lot of people are saying it's not, you know, not hobby grade. hobby grade, to me at least, is being able to have accessible replacement parts, something that's going to have tunability options. They're granted out of the box, they're not going to give you a ton. You have like the adjustable links and whatnot. There's a whole bunch of settings up here so you can change your caster. The steering links are adjustable. I'm sure there's going to be knuckles coming out soon. So with a couple of basic upgrades, theoretically, you should be able to get, I won't say almost as many adjustment points as this, but a considerable amount more to make it, a little more than just your base model. And I mean, that's my opinion. Of course, this whole video is my opinion. So I'm just trying to give some points of different things. But yeah, super cool, really great. Of course, I'm going to take this one out and drive this one rather than this one. But in my purpose, and the reason this is my personal vehicle, and why I'm keeping this one for myself, is as a person who drifts real cars, I'm not going to bring that with me to a drift event. I'm not going to leave it in my, my trailer or my truck. I'm not going to, drive it around the paddock. This thing, I can't wait to bring it to Club Loose events and go drifting, and then in between run groups, or, Freedom Moves is coming up in August, which is a 2-day camping event, for real drift cars. We're going to go to Sneaky Pete's. We're going to get a couple beverages. I'm going to take this out on the actual track, and I'm going to hand the controller off to anybody who wants to drive it. So that's really my whole purpose for this car as somebody who has, these things. All right, let's talk about setup on this. So I have the TQI radio linked to the Bluetooth app. So in here, I'm going to go home. Let's see if I can keep the glare off of it. You go into Garage, TSM Stability Management. It's also very slow and old. There we go. All right, so there's 3 different settings in here. So the TSM Drift is what it's normally set at when you buy the car. So it's got spin out assist, reflex percentage, and steering reflex percentage. So basically in this mode, it does both the gyro for the wheels, and it'll also like cut power for you. So if the car is starting to spin out and it knows it's going to over rotate, it'll dip down the power automatically to try to catch more traction to get the car to not do that. So I can see how this could be really good for a beginner who has never driven a car. I struggled with this mode because I've been driving RC drift cars for 15 years. So for me, this didn't help, but I see how this could help somebody as well. The other thing that's interesting is that on here, there's a steering angle, which was set somewhere in the 50s range, which gives you like no steering angle. And then you go forth and you just whoop, and you get more. So I don't know why that's set not, not full angle at the beginning. Again, it might be a beginner thing or whatever. So the other 2 modes are gyro mode, which I would have thought would be their gyro gain would feel just like, the Yokomo V4 gyro or the MST gyro or whatever that may be. I had a problem with the gyro mode where the wheels, even if this is cranked all the way down to like 15%, the wheels would just kind of, flop like a fish no matter what, as if the gyro was set too sensitive. So I played with this for about 10 minutes. I really couldn't get it to feel right. So I don't know why there's a TSM and a gyro setting, because I was running it in the TSM setting, which feels just like setting up, the gyro electronically through the V4, or, if you hook up your MST gyro to a 3rd channel. So with this, I was running at about 35, 40%, running it out in a parking lot, and it felt great. It felt awesome. The other thing I'll note too is that they give you 2 sets of tires with the car. These are the softer compound tires. I found the harder ones to be way too hard, and you have no forward bites. I can see the harder tires being super helpful on like a carpet surface would probably be optimal, but on asphalt, concrete, or anything of that sort, if you're trying to run on P-tile, probably not even going to move. So the hard compound tires are kind of useless, in my opinion. The softer ones, these feel a lot more similar to the MST Gold Dots, sort of. So when I actually go run them, and you can see how fast it is based, on the performance of these tires versus the Gold Dots that I'm going to run on my, I'll probably run the RMX 2.0, I'll run one of the RTR ones, and I'll run my KMW one. So we can get like a baseline between entry-level chassis and my fancy chassis. But my phone timed out, or broke, who the hell knows. Oh, shit. Hang on. Please hold. Oh, God. How do I operate my old phone? Hey, there we go. All right. So, yeah. The only other thing, so I have it set in the TSM mode on it, turn this down. It's also kind of cool with a factory radio that I can basically click this here, and it will either activate or deactivate depending on what I want it set at, to have the multifunction knob. So you can get your gyro settings. So if I have it set up in the reflex, I can just turn it up and down on the knob here and adjust it, which is really cool on the fly for a factory radio. You know, the MST, the Yokomo, none of those do that. I think the gyro settings and this whole controller setup is something that really kind of sets this car a little bit above the MST cars as far as the electronics. I know this comes with a brush motor, and the MSTs usually come with a brushless. If you buy the MST with the brush motor, it's about the same price, and the MST is $300. This is $329. So far, my experience with the brush motor is that it's fine. Like, it just works. You know, it's not crazy wheel speed. It's not ridiculous, but it's smooth, and what the hell. So I'm not too upset about that. I do love the gyro setup on this, though. It seems to work very well. The other thing with the controller is that this red button here is your drift button. So basically, let's see if I can do this one-handed. So if you're driving along, it's basically... So you press the button down, whether you hold it or not, it'll only, do an e-brake pull briefly. It'll pause and get you back on throttle. So it's basically the same thing as just jamming the brake forward, which is how I and most people who are going to be driving this are probably used to. But I could see how that could be kind of cool to like a newbie who might be trying to get like more of the real feel of it, get that handbrake pull out of it. So it's a little funky to me. It's not a feature that I'm probably ever going to use. I'm going to fiddle with it, but I think it's a cool idea. They tried something. So I think the radio, super awesome for this particular setup. I think what they did with the TSM and the receiver is super cool. Again, negatives, I would prefer to see it brushless. I would have paid a little more for a brushless one. I'm sure in the future there'll be like an ultimate version or some shit. But we'll see when we get there. So, one more thing. I don't know why this was a thing. Apparently this is how they're all set, but the electronic speed controller here is set in what Traxxas calls race mode. So you have forward and no reverse. Why? I don't know. So that takes 2 seconds to remedy by basically putting a battery in, plugging it in, turning on the controller, and pressing and holding the speed controller button, holding it down till it flashes once. So it'll go green, it'll go red, it turns off, pauses, flashes once, you let go of the button. And that sets it in full speed forward and reverse mode. All right, so while editing, I've decided that I'm going to cut this into 2 parts because I've rambled on for way too long. So this portion of the video is going to be your review, I guess, if you want to call it that, me rambling. And I'm going to post a second video that is the actual running of all these cars, so we can break it up. Also, there's a lot of people out there that probably don't care about anything I just said and would rather just see them drive around. So we're going to do that. And so for now, I appreciate you having watched this video, and I hope that at least throughout my ramblings, maybe I made something clear.